It's really beautiful to receive all of the sharings from the field and to feel the excitement and the willingness and the courage and the way that we are as a collective being with life, and we're honoring the moments of joy and celebration, honoring the revelations and seeings that are coming forward, and continuing to look deeply at what feels to be discordant, recognizing where discordance can feel like it pulls us away from the deep knowing of the heart, and also recognizing how discordance can come in and not pull us away from the truth of the heart. How ultimately nothing pulls us away from the truth of the heart, and how that is ever deepening in its subtlety and its rootedness, the recognition of what never changes, what is always the same. And as we come to recognize what is always the same, we get more rooted in it by being it, by reveling in it, by recognizing and honoring it, right? It deepens when the focus and attention is with that, right? So just to notice that for yourself, how when there's an enlivened sense of who you are, being with that in itself is a way of deepening. And then being with that when discordance is present, and recognizing, we could say that natural flow of life to surrender into itself in the face of discordance, that life kind of folds into itself and surrenders into a sense of whatever is happening here, it's okay. And there's so much freedom in that revelation, right? And I'm really noticing in all of the sharings, like that kind of buoyancy that's present is touching my heart because it's so beautiful. It's that there's a sense of buoyancy, right? There's in everyone, right? And this is the flavor of freedom. And you know what touches the heart here is the frequency of truth, and to be receiving that reflection in our field in this way. We're all receiving that, and we're all receiving the grace of the transmission, that we can speak of how rare it is to give up. We're diving into the tenderness of heart now. We can speak about how rare it is to give up, to surrender the habit to go towards victimhood. So to be in a field where that kind of surrender is happening is extraordinary, right? And it's like a buoyancy and an uplifting frequency that is incredibly supportive. And it's not saying, oh, there's never a moment where discordant comes in, or there's never a moment where a sense of feeling powerless or the victim or whatever, that there aren't areas where those frequencies can arise. But the ability to know that I'm okay, whatever, is really where there's a sense of freedom, right? Because when we can feel that, we have a kind of resilience and a groundedness that allows us to be the light that can look upon whatever is arising and to feel the kind of joy and excitement of actually looking upon what is discordant, a willingness to go deeper and to continue to explore, right? So it's not like an excitement and a celebration of landing somewhere or arriving somewhere. It's a celebration of a kind of buoyancy and an enlivened recognition, a cognizing of the intelligence of spirit, which is like the true flow of life. And that true flow of life surrenders constantly into itself. And it's in such profound devotion to itself as a frequency of love that just loves, that it's willing to keep loving itself. It's willing to keep flowing in devotion to itself, to keep looking, to keep opening, to keep revealing, right? To not be capsized by any kind of weather patterns or storminess or big tippy waves, but to realize that you're in a really solid boat when you know the rooted presence of being. And in a way, then life becomes this adventure of fine-tuning. And the fine-tuning is like an exciting adventure of, of being together in this unfolding, sharing this unfolding, of knowing our belonging to God and grace and glory. So we allow ourselves to belong to the field. We allow ourselves to belong to love. And we also allow ourselves to belong to community where and in companionship, where we feel supported and held, right? And where we know we can receive reflection and that we're not alone in this unfolding, whatever weather patterns come in. And that's like a multi-dimensional trajectory of a sense of being willing to belong to the light, to belong to love, to belong to the glory, right? So just to feel the relaxation that comes in the nervous system and in the consciousness naturally, it's like the relaxation is like a softening of the patterns of tension and holding of lifetimes. A softening of the patterns of tension and holding onto division, limitation, separation, aloneness. There's something wrong with me. I'm not enough, right? Years and lifetimes of holding on, right? And to feel like there's this sense of buoyancy of knowing that we're still afloat and we're crossing this great ocean of samsara, that we're crossing this ocean, that we're receiving the grace and the gift of guidance. The gift that comes of belonging to the divine is divine support and divine guidance. We could say that divine support and guidance is always here, but the more that we feel our rootedness, in a way, the more that we allow ourselves to receive that support of guidance, so that when we open to a willingness to keep looking, I'm willing to be with this, I'm willing to look, I'm willing to see what I cannot see, I'm willing to keep opening in these inquiries, these explorations, and I'm willing to receive the grace of the most extraordinary, intelligent guidance that can support the revealing, the revelation of what I cannot see in this moment, of what keeps me in certain times feeling bound and small and in challenge, right? Identified with what comes forward. But that there's this knowing where I am free, and where I feel that buoyancy and sense of deep silence, still reverent openness. Yeah. Mm. Because in that, it's like we open then to the courage. The true courage, in a way, is that we know that we have the inner strength, the inner capacity to look upon whatever is arising in the life and meet it, right? Mm. That yes, sometimes we are hiding, and sometimes we're not hiding. And it's the ability to discern when there is a true hiding happening, which is protection, and when actually we've discovered a sanctuary, and that we discover that at the sanctuary that we're recognizing that is our true nature hasn't been discovered by everyone, and that we're allowed to have a sanctuary. We're allowed to have a refuge. We're allowed to be in an openness and an innocence and a grace that not all beings have yet discovered. Because part of the trajectory of the evolution of human consciousness is that even though we, let's say we're players on the same earth dimension, in the realm of human experience, we're players, and within the relational realm and the relational dynamics, we we don't actually know always much about the evolution of consciousness, because we're only ever seeing through the evolution of our own consciousness. So it's always best not to presume that we know anything about anybody else and where anybody else is, but to know that if we are naturally aligned in this life, in a trajectory to be opening to greater capacity, to the sanctuary of the true heart, and to know the love that we have made ourselves ready through many lifetimes to be a way shower and a light and a frequency transmission right on the edge of the evolution of human consciousness. And there's no specialness in this, because to be in the edge and on the trenches isn't always the most glorious place to be. Although on a certain level, it's the absolute glory, right? It's the absolute gift and grace. Doesn't always feel that way, but that to really honor our own evolution and know that our own evolution is a gift to the whole field. It's the gift to the whole of the evolution of human consciousness. And this is what allows us to start seeing through the sense of me and other, and making the projections onto the companions that look like they're suffering and struggling, and recognizing that every soul is in its own evolution. And the ones that look like they're in the greatest challenge can often be the sagely beings that are playing roles, right? That we have no idea of. Moving out of the realms of convention, right? Moving out of the realms of convention and living in realms of evolution, of the evolution of consciousness, that we have no idea what's happening in anyone else's evolutionary process. And so The gift and grace for the whole field is that we focus our attention on the love that we are and the grace that is happening in our own evolution, knowing that that is the frequency of love that supports the whole field. That to be resting in the frequency of love and kindness and compassion is the technology that includes everything, everything, without needing to understand it, and allows us to stabilize in the evolution of our own heart, and then be able to look upon with discernment, where are we protecting? Where are we holding ourselves protected? And to even recognize that where we recognize protection it's incredible grace to even recognize protection. It's incredible grace to be able to hold the protected parts of ourselves, the guarded, conditioned parts of ourselves in love and care, right? It's incredible grace to be able to meet all of the seeming parts of ourselves and include it all in the here now, include it all in the one glorious adventure. That recognition that as we come into the field of light, of love, it's an activation field. It's a field of initiation. It's a field that's here now. It's a field that's not holding any agendas. And it's transparent, bare truth. It will call forward in us what is ready to come forward. It will call forward in us what is ready to be seen in the light. It's a place where we cannot hide. And it's a place where we cannot hide from love, right? It's a place where we cannot hide from the fullness of ourself. We cannot hide from the grace and glory of the heart that is wide and expansive and real. And so when we come into this field together, it's like we're coming into a field of reality where we're invited to be real. And the more real we are, curiously, the more free we feel. The more real we are, the more we release the subtle holding patterns, the more that we realize that nothing is personal and that the sense of personal is actually a sense of protection. I'm going to say that again because it's really important. That the sense of personal is a sense of protection, right? Just to feel that. When we hold things as personal, it's connected to shame and guilt and wanting to hide. Holding it as personal is holding a sense of a protectiveness. Something wrong with me. This is personal. This is what makes me different or limited or divided, right? So as we start to see through into the impersonal nature, we're able to be more real, because the shame and the guilt and the sense of I've done something wrong or I've been wronged, or my life is there's things that are wrong, start to fall away into the universal truth and the flow of life. So the impersonal nature doesn't take away intimacy with life. The impersonal nature of life frees us from being held captive by the mind in protection, right? It frees us. It's this ability to include everything and not make ourselves wrong, to know that whatever word we might use for protection, whether we call it distraction, or whether we call it hiding, or whether we call it believing, whether we call it conditioning, whether we call it fear or limitation, doesn't matter what words we use, the frequency is what it's all about. So when we see that frequency of that which wants to divide, we have the power as love to illuminate and undivide the moment, and to actually welcome everything that is in protection into the grace and glory of love's holding, instead of the resistance and pushing away like something wrong is happening, or I'm doing something wrong, or something is bad about me, right? We shift that frequency by allowing the realness of our willingness to look upon, even just be honest with ourselves, right? And of course, we notice that as we share with our companions, there can be even more of a sense of freedom, because we can smile and almost laugh at the ways that we hold ourselves in subtle binds and not so subtle binds, right? And as we start to discover the impersonal nature, we can smile more at the ways that we can move in the world innocently, but realizing, okay, there's a protection there, right? I recognize that when I believe, I create limitation. So that gives me, when I include the one that believes in limitation, when I include that one and I don't make that one wrong, the belief falls away, the limitation falls away. And there's this compassionate, caring expansion of the sense of my heart into the heart, right? As we notice that habits and patterns can arise, and as we include them and welcome them and allow them, and we don't make them wrong, that there's an ever deepening sense of freedom. Oh, when there's kindness here with all that I am, I feel more free. I feel more natural. I feel smoothness. When I don't react and I just let myself, instead of the reaction actually putting an energy outside of my field, I just dance in my field. I dance in the soup of my own thoughts, my own fears, my own reactions. I dance in the soup of what I've somehow created, what is coming in, what is offering me reflection. And I tenderly meet myself with such care and kindness. And I allow a diffusing of all of the lifetimes of certain patterns, having repeated and repeated, starting to soften. I can look at where is the deception in me? Where is the betrayal in me? Where is the fear in me? Where is whatever I'm seeing in me? How can I own it? How can I take full responsibility of it and collapse me and other into love? How can I recognize that anything that I see out there and I feel, it's all in me somewhere in my multi-lifetime trajectory? How can I allow a rebalancing of karmic obscurations and entanglement in a field of cause and effect? How can I actually allow the samskaras to burn in the field of grace as I cross the ocean of samsara that keeps me drifting around and looping in the karmic resonance, where I'm looking to get my needs met in the limitation of the world and relational dynamics that are limited, rather than meeting myself in relation that is unlimited? How can I be in an unlimited, unbounded relationship with my own heart? How can I include everything? All of the ways that I make myself wrong. How can I include all of my protections and conditionings and habits and beliefs and concepts and ideas? How can I include everything that keeps me divided? The ways that I try to be strong, hold myself together, play roles for my family, for my for my community? How can I see through all of the ways that I keep myself protected in relational dynamics and actually allow myself to be vulnerable with myself and meet myself more deeply so that I collapse those relational dynamics that are protective and fearful? How can I meet myself more deeply with kindness and compassion and love and care? How can I allow the tenderness of my heart to be fully felt and held in such care, right? Can I realize that I am not doing anything wrong and I have never done anything wrong? And can I collapse the energies in me that want to make me wrong for protecting myself, that want to make me wrong for that victim energy sometimes rears itself, right? Can I meet all of the ways that I'm looking outside of myself, in the future, in others, in things, in adventures, in experiences? How am I looking for some kind of fulfillment outside of myself? And can I come back to myself and find the fulfillment that is in the heart of love, even if it feels like just a tinkling little bell of awe and wonder, even if it feels like a shimmer, a glimpse? Can I come into the love of my own heart and recognize fulfillment and then look upon the life as an open field of infinite possibility instead of an empty sense of lack that needs to be filled with things, right? Instead of trying to fill the space with things, objects, experiences, relationships, things that give me validation, affirmation, meaning through experience. Can I discover the joy and wonder and awe that is just present in the presence of God and glory? And allow this to be the fertile ground for transformation so that I start inviting illumined experience out of the wideness of the infinite field of possibility that is my heart, instead of inviting limited experience that might feel like it gives a temporary hit, but will likely end in disappointment. Can I open to the possibility of an eternal, joyful, reverent wideness of my life? An adventure without end. Can I open to recognize the kind of reverence and joy that I feel in the presence of a sunny day is reflecting to me the sunshine of my eternal heart that is ever present and always radiant and brilliant? Can I recognize that in the natural shifting of the season, that there's an ever-present nowness that doesn't feel like anything is lost? That in this moment we haven't lost summer. Summer is happening somewhere else. And that there's a magical, magical glory about being in the ever-present now and realizing that there's nothing lost and there's nothing to gain. And just being here in the reverent now allows us to feel very free and peaceful because nothing else is wanted. It can be our constant wanting something else other than what is here, resisting the what is, right? Can I feel the same kind of grace on a cloudy, windy, rainy, stormy day as I do on a sunny day? Can I feel the unchanging, unmoving glory and peace of the eternal sunshine of my own heart, beaming and unmoving, whatever is happening in the weather patterns of life, whatever is happening, if waves are crashing and the wind is blowing and the ocean seems turbulent, can I recognize that what will keep me buoyant and stop the boat from capsizing into victimhood and powerlessness, division and limitation is recognizing that I'm held in a buoyancy, in a frequency of love and care and incredible guidance and support of the divine. My heart is already innocent. I am already pure. I am already divine. My identity in God is already certain. And when I receive that, I receive a flow of love and care and guidance and support where I can ask for everything to be revealed, for love to be revealed, for the unconscious to be revealed, for what I cannot see to be revealed, and know that somehow that revelation will happen if I'm truly willing to see.